Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. This one might be slightly strange to review, but we'll get it done. So today I am reviewing Tainted Moonlight by Erin Kelly, the audiobook narrated by Torian Brackett. I have mostly reviewed all of these books as audiobooks. I will leave previous reviews down in the description below, as well as my reading vlogs for those times when I vlogged it. The vlogs do not have spoilers, but this review will. So if you have not read that, please go down there and check those out instead. Now, Tainted Moonlight takes place couple days to a couple weeks after the end of Captured Moonlight when they are in quarantine. And I think that giant cliffhanger at the end of book 2 kind of set a precedent for what book 3 was going to be that book 3 did not end up being, because I thought it was going to be a lot darker and all about quarantine. It's really not. It's really more about them doing politics stuff and getting Sophie back into society, because despite the fact that it's been 3 books, it took book 3 for Sophie to actually try to integrate back into society as a werewolf. And so there's a lot of talk of infected people and how to get them back in, and all of the stages and the laws and da-da-da-da-da. A lot of talk also on how people were coping and the different infections. They introduced a couple new kinds of infections, and one of my personal favorites, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, although there's so much to spoil in this book, is you get to see how the infection actually got started, like the actual origins of the entire thing, at least for werewolves, although I get the gist that the scene that you see that led to the werewolf infection also did some of the others. And so it basically does broaden the scope of the story a lot. However, it did also reaffirm my feelings that book 2 was a side quest. I talked a lot about that in that review, that it was so new. So many new characters were introduced. Almost no characters from the first book continued on, save for the protagonist. A bunch of new characters were introduced, and then they all left at the end of that book. And in reality, it didn't change the canonical storyline all that much. And this book really reaffirmed that, because this book has so many reveals and so many plot twists, but almost everything hinges on book 1, not book 2. Aside from a couple casual lines and a leather jacket, not really much comes out from book 2. Almost everything, every big soap opera-like reveal, of which there are many, comes directly from book 1. Now, the author has told me that some of the characters from book 2 will come back later, but right now the pacing just feels off, because so much of that book feels completely to the side. Not that it was bad, just side questing. Someone went side questing, they unlocked a new ability, Corbin got that new alpha powers unlocked, and then we went back to the main quest line. That's what it feels like. But this book was a lot slower to begin with, and all of the angst, all of the drama was very much relationship drama. Lucas is in the story in a big way for the first time. He is not just kind of like a character off screen that's mentioned sometimes. He is in it. And I was so annoyed that Erin Kelly made me like him. Kind of. I am usually very decisive once I decide whether or not I like a character, and I was so annoyed because I went from, "Aw, Lucas," to "fuck you, Lucas," within the same chapter, within the same section of his point of view. I was waffling that much. And that's, I guess, a testament to the complexity of the writing, that I literally could not figure out how I felt about this one character. I did end with a "fuck you," if you're wondering, but it is so much more about the fact that, yeah, Corbin and Sophie definitely are in the middle of something, but she's still married, and you low-key find out that Lucas isn't necessarily the monster they thought they were, so now the whole them being together thing is a whole lot rockier. It's a lot of that kind of stuff, and that is a good like third of the book, because I didn't even know what the actual synopsis for this book was. I liked the end of the second. I say, okay, cool, give me the next one. I get to a point in a series with an author where I just stop checking the synopsis. Yeah, cool, just send me the next book, let's go. And I eventually went to the synopsis just because I was like, is something big gonna happen? Like, is this just gonna be a kind of slower paced relationship stuff? And I went back and yes, stuff is gonna happen. But it was like nearly halfway through the book before the inciting incident from the synopsis actually occurred. And so my thought process was, okay, we're probably going to have a gigantic climactic scene. And sure enough, it was properly big. And I did like how big it got. However, and this might just be a me thing, Torian Brackett did a great job, but the expository villain monologues are getting to be a slightly bit much. Not that necessarily it's a bad thing. It's a trope for a reason, but it's getting to the point where not everyone is a villainous expository monologue type of character. Yes, Nikki was in book one because she felt like she was always lesser than her sister, so of course she would want to brag to her sister about everything she's done. And then Davy in book two was a full-out psychopath. I would wholly believe that he would monologue. And this character in this book, to a certain extent, yeah, would be a little bit monologue-y. Obviously, I'm not going to reveal who it is, but still, it was like, okay, are we going to do this every time? Evil villain monologue. Sometimes I like it when I don't know exactly why the villain is doing every single thing they're doing, and like the characters have to figure it out a different way. They can't just directly be told, but that could maybe change moving forward. So let's talk about the best thing in this book. I put it in the title for the reading vlog, and that is our new characters, the queer Irish vampire and his slutty werewolf boyfriend. I won't tell you exactly how they come into the story because yet more reveals, but Mikhail and Naraka are my favorite. Now, I already knew that this book was going to be gayer than the previous two because Erin Kelly did tell me that RJ and Alex, our MLM couple of previous books, were going to get more screen time, and they do in this book. You hear a lot more about how they got together and coming out to Corbin and their old friend Ace, and you see a lot more of them just doing like the cute stuff. And also, there are flashbacks with other queer characters. And Corbin has some bi themes, and I called it. Thank you. I called it in the vlog. I was like, I'm getting so many bi vibes from Corbin right now. I love Corbin and Sophie, but I'm getting bi vibes. And sure enough, the author commented on that video, and he is canonically bi-romantic. Thank you. I called it. We recognize our own. But more than anything, what I loved for this was Torian's voices. The audiobook narrator, he's always done a fantastic job. He has such distinct voices for all of the characters, and it's to the extent where if we're talking like one of the main three, I know exactly who's talking without the actual dialogue tags, just by the voice alone, which is always great. You always want that in an audiobook. And previously, I had said that his voice for RJ was my favorite. And at the time, that made the most sense. You know, you have an academic black man with a deep voice voicing an academic black man with a deep voice. Like, it made sense. But dude can also pull off ultra pale Irish vampire really well. And yes, his slutty werewolf boyfriend. I said that as a joke, BTW, the slutty werewolf boyfriend, because Naraka will flirt with anything that moves in this book, and the author ran with it. There's now art of him being the slutty werewolf boyfriend. So if you see it, and if you see the author use that promotion anywhere, you're welcome. That was me. But the Irish accent that Torian did for Mikhail, perfect. And they're just so in love as boyfriends. This is the perfect book to read for Pride Month. It was just so gay. And I happen to know the author said this, and it's in a public comment. I'm not revealing anything that she has not already made public, but it's just gonna get gayer. It's just going to get more queer moving forward, which I'm really excited about. We're talking Polly. We're talking a specific side character who I can't really talk about because yet more spoilers, but he's gonna get some more screen time, and he's queer. Like, it's exploded. It has just gone poof. It has exploded with all the gay characters, all the queer characters. Love it. Now, of course, I do have to make note, because I've made note every single other time, and that is, how is Torian's female voices? They're okay. I've gotten used to it at this point. I did note in the first book that his voice for Sophie was kind of uncanny valley for me, and he revealed in a comment on that video that that first book was his literal first ever voiceover work. So, like, yeah, I get it. And I don't know if I had any effect on this, but they actually had a flashback in the book with Corbin's mom, Maria, and they had a separate voice actress, like a woman, that narrated for her. And I don't know if I had anything to do with that. I swear it's not so bad that I would have called for another voice actor. I swear. It was his first time. I get it. I have grown to accept Sophie's voice the way it is. And Nikki, that's always going to be Uncanny Valley, just because that kind of Valley Girl sissy accent, or like tone of speaking, is so particular that it's just going to be so hard for most people to pull off if your voice doesn't automatically do that kind of thing. But if I was part of the reason, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make anyone feel bad. Although if I was the reason that another voice actor got more work, I guess I can't be too upset. Regardless, loved the book, loved the ending. I am desperately hoping that Michaela Naraka will feature in future books. I have heard that there are possible spin-offs coming, both of that master vampire that I definitely want to see more of, and of Michaela Naraka. I'm just so excited for all of this. Yes, show me the greater universe. He's only really touched the surface. There's been so many allusions to other different kinds of species of infected. My guess is, just based on that one particular flashback, like maybe 5 different versions of infected. But I loved the reveals. This definitely is not a book for people who want, like, to be dropped into the deep end. Like I said, a large portion of this book is relationship melodrama and soap opera secret reveals, and you really have to already love the characters to get into it, but I did, so it's fine. The found family dynamic was there, hardcore, and in general, that big ending did feel properly big. Now, it didn't necessarily have a cliffhanger with the level of gut punch that the first 2 had, but it did set up maybe even more found family things moving forward, which I'm willing to take it. I don't need the ending to be totally explosive if I get my found family in the end. But regardless, I gave this book 5 stars. Highly enjoyed it. It made cleaning my house infinitely easier. I've actually been missing having Mikhail's voice in my ear as I have to continuously clean my house because we're still not done. And I would highly suggest this one. If you've liked the other books in the series, definitely pick this one up. It will not disappoint. Now, if you were an indie author and you would like a book review like this one, please let me know. I will have my contact info down in the description below. Please be sure to read through my review policy. It answers a lot of questions and saves us a lot of time. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.